Many years ago, around midnight on the eve of my 21st birthday, I sat in stunned silence as my ex-girlfriend told me that she had been raped a couple weeks prior at a party. As she told the story, including the part where her friend was banging on the locked door and screaming, trying to get someone to stop it, I felt helpless, angry, and confused all at the same time, in a way I never had before. It was truly my introduction to adulthood. In a way, though she had gone to the hospital, had the rape kit done, and filed a report, charges were never pressed. The guy's fraternity brothers had cornered her afterwards and said that if she tried to go to police, they would all testify that she was lying and use their connections to prevent the case from proceeding. One was the son of a state senator. The DA declined to pursue the case, mostly because she was too scared to cooperate, but also because his family hired a lawyer to proactively stonewall the process. Needless to say, she was a wreck. 2 days later, I visited my college's counseling center. I had found myself so enraged, I was actually planning the rapist's murder in my head. And I had even talked to a friend about helping me, who then suggested I see a counselor. In the months that followed, I gradually came to terms with everything and how my anger resulted from things I had witnessed as a volunteer firefighter/paramedic. It was considered a form of PTSD, but from an emotional standpoint, it was a stunning realization that life, by design, isn't as fair as I had been brought up to believe. Fast forward 6 years. I really hadn't kept in touch with my ex-girlfriend very well. One day, I got a friend invitation on MySpace. This was years ago, from her, and I gladly accepted. Through the messaging feature, we caught up and exchanged phone numbers. I learned that she was doing well, and she only had a few months more of her residency before she would become a doctor. She had also married and was expecting her first of 4 children. A few weeks went by, and one night she called me. She told me that she had searched for me and reconnected because she had some news. Seems the rapist had recently been convicted of another rape, and she wanted to be there for his sentencing. She asked me to go with her, as her husband was out of the country. Her mom couldn't go because of her health, and she wanted someone there for support, and she felt it may give both of us a sense of closure. I went with her. We didn't know there was going to be a hearing first. I won't go into the details, but all I can say is that it was really hard to stomach. After both sides had people read statements, they broke for a brief recess. The recess was a lot shorter than I pictured it. We came back in, and the judge said something about ensuring there is sufficient time to take advantage of the opportunity to rebuild his character, then gave him 5 to 20 years, which I thought was really odd, being so wide and all. Here comes the revenge. After his lawyer spent what seemed forever arguing that he should be released pending appeal, denied, they adjourned, and the spectators from each side avoided eye contact and did so an awkward exit. My ex, being very pregnant at the time, had to stop at the restroom on the way out. As I'm standing there, some guy standing near me said, "Bummer, huh?" For some mysterious reason, I got this weird feeling I should pretend to be on his side, and just nod. He asked how I knew the defendant, and I said I went to college with him. When I was asked if I was in his frat, I lied and said I was. We had a brief conversation, and the guy spilled to me that it was likely they were going to send him to a prison that happened to be in the city I lived. Not sure how he would have known that, but like I said, the kid's parents were well connected. When my ex came out, the guy congratulated us on the baby, and before she could correct him, I said, "Thank you. Hey, we gotta hit the road. Ready, babe?" She gave me a weird look and said, "Sure, let's go, babe." As we got to the car, I explained what had happened and thanked her for playing along. She knew I was up to something and asked why I was excited that he may be at the prison near me. And I said, "Oh, it'll just make me smile when I drive by knowing that he's getting at least a taste of what he deserved." But I had something way worse planned. You see, I was friends with the COs and on a first-name basis with the superintendent/warden. When I got home, I rang up one of the COs and asked if he'd meet me for a few drinks. A couple nights later, we sat down and had a few beers, and I filled him in. I made sure to tell him about the threats his frat brothers had made and insinuated that his family had connections with many prominent Democrats. I also told him the guy was Jewish. Now, I may have been stretching the truth a bit, but I knew the CO pretty well. And there was one thing I always hated about him. He was an anti-Semite, and he hated Democrats because he thought the party was run by sneaky Jews. Truth be told, I have no idea who this rapist and his parents were connected to, and I was pretty sure he wasn't Jewish, even though his name suggested as much. The CO said that he'd look into it, and if it was true he'd be there, he'd make sure he was given the royal treatment. A little over a year goes by, and I totally forget about everything. One night, I'm at the bar of our local VFW, and I run into the CO who is having drinks with some of his other CO brethren. They were absolutely shit-faced. He slaps me on the back and says, "Ah, thanks for the yucks." I didn't know what he meant, and he says, "Your slur for Jewish people, pal, the one that raped your girl. Oh boy, you have no idea how much fun we've had with him." Basically, when he got there, they put him in segregation right away. Single bed, but not the solitary confinement kind. They told him it was for his protection, and he thought his parents pulled some strings. The real reason they did it is because that's usually the procedure for informants. I don't even want to know how they got the chief officer to approve it. When he was brought back to general population, they started telling everyone that he was Jewish, which apparently is a bad thing if you want to integrate yourself with the white guys. In addition to being hated by the other inmates and, on one occasion, roughed up a bit in yard time, they started banging him for even the most minor infractions. As a result, he started getting testy during his constant hearings, which resulted in lengthier punishments. His life was a living hell. The COs also got some of the bigger inmates to intimidate him during shower time, and they would pretend to walk away for a few minutes to let him get to know his fellow inmate better. They would never actually let him get raped, though. If he were to report a rape, the responsible CO would get in deep shit just to see him sweat. I guess that in one short year, the guy had pretty much been through hell, and the night that they were drinking with me, he had been sent to the infirmary for a psychological episode of some sorts. Earlier that day, he had learned from another inmate that all of the infractions on his file made it near impossible for him to get paroled in his first hearing, regardless of how well he did in the years to follow. He didn't take it well. I know what I did was objectively wrong, but it just feels so right. When I drove by the prison, I would smile and wave. Recently, though, I learned he'd been transferred at some point. I don't know where,